call that radio. You call that radio TV. Yo. You call that radio TV.
This is You Call That Radio.
This is You Call That Radio TV, and we're about to go live with one of my favourite bands, Helicon. They've been doing it for years, one of my favourite live bands as well. And if you've not seen them live, you're in luck, because I believe they're playing this Tuesday night at Nice and Sleazys. And they've got John-Paul here just now, man. How you doing?
Good, Mark. How are you, mate?
I'm very well. Just telling you there, man. I'm feeling better after feeling absolute shite for a week. I'm feeling better, and yeah, I'm going to. I'm actually going to maybe have a can of beer today, and a cigarette.
That is the sign of triumph and recovery.
It's the sign of triumph and recovery, indeed. I thought I'd definitely quit smoking forever after the cough I had earlier this week. Learned absolutely nothing.
Good.
But aye, man. Sorry, I said Tuesdays are playing. Is that right?
It is. Yeah. We're playing in Nice and Sleazys in Glasgow on Tuesday with the Third Sound from Berlin, another Fuzz Club band, and there's a third band on the bill called Floating Heads, which I believe is a young band from Aberdeen making their Glasgow debut. So look forward to it, man. Should be good. Amazing
stuff. And it's a Third Sound. That's with the boy for Brian Jonestown Massacre on it.
It is, yeah. Hakon, one of the. I hope I pronounced his name correctly there and not being offensive. But Hakon is. People might know his work. He was previously in Singapore Sling back in the day, and he joined BGM a few years ago. So this is this Third Sound was his solo project from a few years back. And when he eventually moved to Berlin, they put a band together, started touring. So I think this is their first run of UK dates they've ever done, which they're on at the moment. So coming up to Glasgow tomorrow, and we'll be playing with them. So looking forward to it. It's our last gig of the year.
Well, you were worried about pronouncing the first name right, but I mean, what about the surname?
Don't even try it.
But amazing, man. I mean, Brian Jonestown Massacre is probably one of my favourite bands of all time, if you were to put it down. And I mean, there's a few sort of links between a lot of my favourite bands that I've worked with over the years as well. Like you've just said Mark Gardner. Has he just mastered the new album?
Yeah, so we just finished. We started recording that. This is our third album for Fuzz Club. So we started recording that, I think, kind of midsummer, kind of June, July, in Dystopia studio in Partick in Glasgow. We're there with Luigi Pasquini, who we worked on our previous couple of records. We did the Fuzz Club live session with Luigi, and we did This Can Only Lead to Chaos album. And but this time we had kind of a bigger ambition. We had more money, more time to put this third album together. So as well as Luigi, we brought in an old kind of friend and guy we've known for the music scene for years called Jason Shaw. As a producer as well on the record, and Jason actually has worked with Mark Gardner from Ride on a few different projects over the years. So when we started on this, it was actually Jason's suggestion. He says, "Look, I think if we can get Mark from Ride involved in this and the mastering side of things, he'll really understand what the kind of vision for this record is and what the sound is going to be like." And it's worked an absolute treat. And that's my kind of first dealing with him. A lovely fella, very friendly. Very humble, got a brilliant ear, and it never hurts to be associated with bands like Ride and people like Mark Gardner, who have been legends since the 90s, you know.
100%, man. It's just brilliant, and it's just not only is he got a great ear and just a total legend, but it's always just nice to have someone else coming in from an outside perspective to mastering it. You know what I mean? Even without the fame or anything like that. Because I mean, I know that we did stuff earlier on. We would maybe sometimes have mastered it ourselves, you know, within the group and stuff. But I think it's crucial to get that outside ear.
So important, man. Especially when your sole focus has been so insular about what the record's like and how are the songs developing, what are the sounds we're using, and how is this whole thing coming together. Sometimes it's pretty easy to kind of lose sight of what the listening experience is like for a punter who doesn't, have any context about what that record is when they come to it for the very first time. So getting outside perspective is absolutely essential, because we're pretty brutal. If we feel something's not working, we can identify it and pull it pretty quick. But sort of having someone coming out with fresh eyes and fresh ears after all that time and being able to help you steer things a wee bit is absolutely essential, man.
100%. It was because you've got a situation, you have a bassist who wants more bass, a vocalist who wants more vocal, and a guitarist who wants more guitar.
Exactly that, man.
It's having a referee come in there and just sort it all out is great. So the new album is that's not out till April, you said?
April 28th, so there you go, there's an exclusive for you. We haven't even revealed the title of it yet, but that will be called God Intentions, and it is by a distance our most collaborative but also our most ambitious record, I think. So I think the first single we plan to release in February, and then Fuzz Club will release the album, I think, 28th of April. And we're really, I can't wait for people to hear this. I don't generally get particularly excited or buzzed up about our own work. I kind of tend to get there, you get excited about it, you record it, you do it, and then you move on. It's like, okay, what's next? You're always ahead of anything anybody's actually hearing. But this one feels a bit different. This is, I have to mention and give credit to Creative Scotland, who got behind us for this record and helped with funding, and which gave us a lot more time to spend in the studio and time to pull in things like, with string quartet led by Rona McFarlane playing with us. Wow. I know we've got guest vocalists on it. We collaborated with a guy called Soto Hul, who's like an old sort of avant-garde violinist in Toulouse in France. So it's quite a journey.
It's amazing, and that's and also, so that was the two. You've been recording that for the 2 years. You're just explaining there that that's the studio behind you. So I mean, I suppose that may have been quite a positive as well. Obviously, if you've got a bit of funding, that's always a bonus as well. But for many bands, I know for us, we kind of threw some demo ideas back and forth, but because we don't have a studio, and studios were illegal basically. You couldn't get a studio. You couldn't even if you wanted to. And now it's even hard to get a rehearsal room just now, especially at peak times, because I think there's just a million. Every band's trying to get back out and make material and tour again. So was there a positive side to that then? Because obviously, you're always busy on the live circuit as well, but there is no live circuit, and you've got a studio there. So was there just a bit more, just more time just to try different things out a wee bit more?
100%, exactly that. Somebody said to me a couple of weeks ago when I said to them, "This is our kind of best, our biggest, our most ambitious records yet." This is so. What's the difference? I said time, and that's what it was. When I moved to this house, I had. This isn't some big extravagant setup, but there was a garage at the side of the house that the previous owners has had as a gym. So when I arrived, I was like, okay, we can get rid of that. and let's turn it into something we'll actually use. So we did that. We
ditch the dumbbells and bring in the cowbells.
Exactly, 100%, man. And so what happened, has happened to, I think it's one of the reasons why there's so many amazing records came out recently and so many bands trying so many things, is that I know lots of people talk about this, but the impact of COVID on stopping where anybody was going, stopping you playing live, stopping you touring, stopping you get together, all of a sudden you had more time to work on crafting what you were actually, what was in your head. So instead of putting it together, getting to a point you like it, then recording it and moving on, I started writing these songs maybe about 2 years ago, and then through COVID, spent that time in here refining them, honing them, doing things I'd never done, like starting to write on piano rather than writing on guitar all the time, which is my first instrument, and teaching myself drums during that period as well, which kind of gives you much better appreciation and understanding of rhythm and patterns and everything that runs through there. So then once you actually are allowed to start to, what you can do then is you're recording little bits, you're sharing them with band members who are chucking ideas down and sending things back. So there's this constant evolution and progression of not only the craft of the songs that you've created, but the sound of them, how do we expand that? How do we, and as you quite rightly said, everybody wants their bit. So these things become big and they become bloated, but then you've got the time to actually start to strip away and take away the things that aren't contributing to parts of what are making these songs better, so that when you then go to a studio to start to record that properly with engineers and producers, you've got these things to a point that they feel ready. But I think it's also really important, you know this as well, that when you do go, when it gets, you go through 4 or 5 or 6 different demos of a track before you get to the recorded version of it. And just having that ability to experiment, to hone, to craft, to try different ideas, things that might be mental, sound good in your head, then don't work, but then have the time to kill it and not have to worry too much about what direction you take it, because you've got the time and the space and the environment to be able to do it.
Absolutely. James Stewart saying, at last, a positive spin on lockdown, fed up with screamers and bams moaning.
Absolutely. Honestly, if you could give me one of them every 2 years, I could come up with a new record as good as this.
Yeah. And then obviously lift the lockdown so that you can go out and tour it around the world.
Yes, exactly. Aye.
Yeah, that sounds good. I was thinking like January. Can we just lock down January if that would work? Because I can't be fast with Januaries anyway. So, but yeah, what I'm going to do is you mentioned the Fuzz Club there as well, which, I mean, tremendous output comes from Fuzz Club. Can you tell us a little bit about Fuzz Club, who else is involved, and then we'll maybe play the Fuzz Club session of In the End.
Yeah,
just
sure.
to go out, give people a wee peek at what it is you do.
Yeah, so Fuzz Club is a London-based psychedelic label that started kind of psych bands originally, rather than pigeonholing it, but it's progressed into post-punk and all these other kind of genres that all spin off. I'm no mad myself about putting labels on things, but you can understand that it helps people lean towards something they might think, oh, this is new and I might like it. So we had very good friends of ours, bands like the Underground Youth, 10,000 Russos, and a few others, Piazions, who became, when Dave was there, who sadly passed away a few years ago, and Frankie, and went on to form Throwdown Bones. These were all kind of peers that we were on the touring circuit with, and they were all going towards Fuzz Club. So we met Casper, the label owner, a few years back, and started talking about a few things, and then we put out a lot of EPs. It came time to do our first album. We wanted to work with them. They wanted to work with us. And it was fantastic. They've been brilliant, and we've been very good for each other, I think. They've really helped us spread out into territories we would never normally be heard. I think we helped bring a new dimension to their label as well in terms of what the sound of the label was, and where that was going to go. So we're now on our 3rd album for them. As they expand and they've got bigger, they're grown out into all these different territories. I think, I'm from East Kilbride, and I remember last year Casper dropped me a text and says, we've just signed another band from East Kilbride. I was like, what? And then he sent me the press release that they get the Jesus and Mary Chain were now on the label. And that was around about the time the guys, the Mary Chain, were doing their Barrowlands gig. So that was a big draw. And what it also means is when you've got a band like the Mary Chain on the label, it starts to pull in lots of other people who would never maybe normally have heard of some of these kind of, bands at our level, and start to feed into them. So it's been amazing. We went away, we've played their festival in Eindhoven for them with Fuzz Club, and you've got, you get King Gizzard and all that on there as well now. They've done Black Angels special releases. They've got the Telescopes records on there as well. So basically, everything and anything that I've loved is there. So it was a no-brainer for us, man.
Absolutely. Mary Chain's one of my favourite bands of all time, 100%, man. And like you say, there's just going to be, because it does help you reach those people, because there's people that are massive fans of music that were probably digging in the record shops back in the day. They love Mary Chain, and then they have families and stuff like that, or work gets in the way, and they've maybe sort of lost where is all the new music? Because I mean, you're not going to find it on television or mainstream radio. It's absolutely terrible out there. But there is such incredible new music coming out there, and you've just got to find it. So by being attached to a label that has a band, super fans of Mary Chain, they are going to go, who else is on this label, and find you. So that's brilliant to hear. Let's listen to it anyway. For anyone tuning in, so this is for the Fuzz Club sessions. So where is this recorded?
This is actually recorded at Dystopia Studio in Partick, where we did the new album.
Cool. And what's the tune about?
This song's called "In the End," so it's a bit of a bittersweet love song. You know what I mean? There's a lot of darkness in there, and the sort of internal and external battles and strifes that you go through when you're in love. But ultimately, hopefully, that'll overcome and prevail against all the kind of the shite you go through on the journey.
Brilliant stuff. Let us know in the comments what you make of this one. In the End by Helicon, live from Dystopia.
You call that radio?
Makes coherent sense.
Fantastic. It's In the End. Oh, I've went a wee bit blurry. I'll be back in a second. Yeah, superb. James saying that he's not sure if it's his speakers or is there a loud reverb. I think there is loud reverb. A wall of sound. You'll get a wall of sound.
part of the unholy trinity of fuzz, delay, and reverb. That's the
Fuzz,
three that you
delay,
need.
and reverb. No, absolutely love it. It's actually I just got a. I'm hopefully going on holiday. I don't know. Hopefully in the next month anyway. It's been a long time coming, and I've just got an MP3 player. I was actually trying to see if anyone. I put a shout out to see if anyone had an old iPod, because I had an iPod once, and that was brilliant. And I've had a couple of. It just broke one day, and then I had a couple of cheap MP3 players, and they've just broke, or they're just really difficult to use, or they've got shite memory or whatever. And I'm just sick of. I mean, Spotify, for all its faults, it's a good app, but you're just connected to the matrix, aren't you? And you check your notifications, and I just want to be able to go a walk to the park, or just go for a cycle and not have my phone with me, and still have it. So I've got myself a new MP3 player, and definitely user guys are going to be getting added to that. It will all lead to chaos. Is that the name of it? Sorry.
This can only lead to chaos.
This can only lead to chaos. Sorry for getting that wrong.
Aye.
But yeah, I was just telling you before, that album is just perfect flying music. I got a wee bit anxious on a flight, and I just love it. It's epic, and it's just mellow, relaxing, aggressive at times as well. And it's perfect. And I also find it's quite good to just have a wee notepad with and write to kind of music like that as well.
I appreciate that, Matt.
It kind of slows down my thoughts, which can get a wee bit out of control at times. So I just kind of, I love it, man. I love it.
Thank you.
So I'd recommend anyone who's not familiar going as a good starting point. Would you say that's is that your favourite album? I mean, what's your back catalogue looking like these days? Because I mean, how long have you been about for? I think I seen you at Sleazys 10 years ago or something, 12 years ago maybe. I don't know.
It's about I think I say 10 years because I can never remember, but I think it's a wee bit longer than that. I think it is about 11 or 12 or so. I mean, we are most days, Sebo, the drummer, he'll protest to this because he's only his mid-30s. It's his birthday today, actually, so happy birthday, Seb.
Happy birthday, Seb.
But the rest of us are in our kind of mid-40s, you know, so, so it's been going about maybe, you know, over 10 years, and I think originally we've done about 9 EPs. During that time, I think we did the first 7 or 8 were all self-releases, you know, as we were kind of, as you do, you're kind of trying to get a bit of momentum, you're finding your way, you don't have the money, you don't have the back catalogue of good material, and you don't have the money to go and do an album properly. So that was how we had carried on through that time. So, but that was good. That was getting us a following and starting to pick up, and the psychedelic music community is so kind of interlinked and interwoven that you can very quickly find yourself being listened to in different territories you've never played in. But from there, it was. I think I saw a wee reminder actually on Facebook today that it was 5 years ago that we started the pre-sale for our first album, and that was when we got involved with Fuzz Club. And that was so we've done 3 full studio albums. We've done about 9 EPs, 3 full studio albums, and that live album that you just saw in the end from there. But when we did that first album, we felt as if we'd taken our time, we were ready to do it. It was kind of songs that we'd had on the go for quite some time, but we were very lucky. I'm good friends with Martin Bullock, the drummer in Mogwai. And we went to school together and all that kind of, and hung about, you know, friends back in East Kilbride and all the rest of it. And Martin, as we were coming to do it, says, look, come into your studio to do the first album, you know, come and meet Tony Doogan, their producer and kind of collaborator. And I was like, Martin, we fucking can't afford that, man. And he's like, no, don't worry, we'll work something out. And we met Tony, and I think, you know, the amount that we learned in that 2 weeks recording that first album with Tony Doogan in the Mogwai studio was just mind-blowing. We still operate with some of the things that Tony taught us then, you know, about how, you know, every 2 bars something new should be happening to try and put, especially with instrumental stuff. Now that's so important that you don't, it doesn't end up just feeling like wallpaper or like a soundtrack to something, that you're always moving the listener or giving them something or taking something away or adding something. And we still get a wee rule when we're writing and we're editing and we're maybe working out mixes, like what would Tony do here, man? What would Tony tell us is shite? and that's it. I remember Martin telling us when they work with Tony in their studio, what they do is they'll do all their demos, they'll write them all, then they'll take them to Tony, and he says, then Tony will tell us what's shite and what's worthwhile. And they go, right, okay, so as long as you're not too precious about being told something you think's good shite, then it's a good way to work. And then from there, that built a bit of momentum. We managed to get a bit of money. We managed to start to get better tours. We managed to start to pull in some revenue for that. Kicks into the second album and then the third. So it's been a real evolution for us, both in terms of what the sound of the band is, our own musicianship and songwriting, and the people we've worked with.
Yeah, it's great to get honest feedback, but nobody likes getting told about something shite. But if it's somebody that you respect and you know that they're doing it for the right reasons, then it's brilliant. You know, I've got
exactly.
You know, I've got a couple of friends that think our music's shite, and but then every so often we do a song and they go, "That's actually quite good." And I mean, maybe that's just a lot about my self-esteem, but I quite like that's actually quite good because I know that they're not blowing smoke up Mars. That's actually quite good. Is a very much a backhanded compliment, but it's real. It's like that's actually quite good. So.
I've got a lot of my old East Kilbride pals and that as well. Fair to say, it's not their vibe, it's not their buzz. But what I always tell them is, I know the day you like it's the day I'm doing it wrong, because I know what your musical taste is, and if you click onto this, we fucked it. I've got an old pal. He's sadly passed away a couple of years ago now, Nicky Roman, and Nicky was one of my dearest pals for East Kilbride. And Nicky only came to see us a few times, but he's got one of the biggest, loudest, maddest voices you've ever heard. And I always, if you ever get a wee bit carried away with yourself, you ever started to think that, oh, we're doing all right, we might be doing, if Nicky was at one of your gigs, he'd soon pull you back down to earth, because Nicky would wait until between each song when there's that little lull of silence, and then his voice from the back would shout, "JP, do that one you're good at." And that so you might have done another set and he's like, "There's only one song you're good at and I'm waiting for you to do it." So
just play that one again. I had that before, you know. If you get a song that gets a wee bit of traction, that goes viral in the underground wise, it's like, oh, just play that one again.
Play that one,
just play that one for an hour.
Aye.
I mean, but we actually have to do that a couple of times. We've had to change band members at the last minute, and you've only got like a 40-minute set, and then it's like, "Oh no, keep playing," says the stage manager, and like, "Right, okay."
That's the beauty of doing this kind of many instrumental numbers as we do, because if you need to extend that out a wee bit, you just give a nod and we look to go again. Nobody notices.
Take it for a walk. But yeah, no, it's going back to that, the sort of the build, and obviously, yeah, you can hear. I can. Although you're completely different from Mogwai, there's that epic build where a song builds up and reaches that crescendo. I absolutely love stuff like that. And in fact, it was actually one of my favourite songs of all time. Is you probably know it, Brian Jonestown Massacre song, "You Look Great When I'm Fucked Up," and it's just, there's nothing particularly complex about it. It's very simple, but it just builds and loops and instrumental. And I don't know, for some reason it just got me through a tough time years and years ago. And when I listen to this day, it still just makes me happy. When I listen to it, I just feel like I can take on the world.
That's brilliant, man. I love it. I'm absolutely incredible tune.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I've got another one. Speaking of swearing and tunes, I've got a song here called "I'm More English Than You Cunt," featuring Will Carruthers. Can you tell us a wee bit about that?
Yeah, man. Again, some people might not know Will's name, though many will, but Will was a founding member of one of my top 3 bands of all time, Spacemen 3.
Absolutely.
And still a huge influence on me and our sound, Spacemen 3, and what they do. But Will's gone on. He's also played in the Brian Jonestown Massacre. He was I got to know him on the live circuit as well when he was with Dead Skeletons. And we played a few shows with him, and we did a few festivals with them and all the rest of it as well. So we kind of became pally through that. And there was a period of time after the second album when we had finished that album. We knew that we were going to be working on the next one. You had all the lockdown things happening. People were going, and I really felt that it's not something we usually do, but we needed to release a single. We just had to do something, or we had been too long without putting anything out. So I had this absolutely mental kind of guitar chord progression, quite thrashy, quite kind of punky, much faster than that kind of mid-tempo that we usually operate at. And I was like, there's a tune in this, man, but I don't know what to do with it. And I was messing with it, and then for some reason, I think, I don't know how, if it popped up into it, but Will came into my head, And I just sent my message. I says, well, look, I says, I'm working on this tune here, man. You up for doing something together? Do you want to, would you up for putting vocals? Because if you've ever heard Will's speaking voice, it's fucking amazing, man. And he's like, aye, fuck it, I'm not really doing any music, but aye, seeing as how it's used, let's do something. So I wasn't sure what, but he came straight back to me, and Will's been working as a poet and a painter and kind of living around Berlin and different places in Europe recently. And he said, look, I've got this poem, it's a bit out there, see what you think. It's okay if you don't want it, but I think this could be pretty cool. So he sent me, he's got this full-length poem, I'm More English Than You Cunt. And it's this absolute foul-mouthed, hilarious tirade, the preposterous, invented perception of what Englishness and historically Englishness and Britishness is. You know what I mean? It's these ridiculous, it's this ridiculous pursuit of blue passports and pints over litres and all this fucking bollocks that led to Brexit and these Tory fucks that are all around and everything else that works inside this shit show that we're living in right now. So he wrote it out, he sent it to me, we got him to speak it, and then I worked and pulled it all together. We made some edits, brought it, and we've turned it into this single, I'm More English Than You Cunt, which was designed to intentionally provoke and ruffle feathers, but actually, you know, and I know a few English people that took offence to it without actually listening to it. It's not a criticism of English people or Englishness or England as a whole, but this fake sense of what Englishness actually is and the way that people use it to manipulate and monetize people who are perhaps should know better. You know what I mean? But it's pretty good fun.
Let us know in the comments what you think. Who's shooting in? Actually, we got Big Al, the polar bear's in the house. We're actually going to go and see Cocaine Bear. He's a big polar bear. Cocaine Bear out in February. It's the most stupid film I've seen in a long time that I'm definitely going to go to the pictures to see. We've got actually Jigsaw Tiger, actually quite good. His pals keeping you in check style. Compliments. Well, I mean, it is. I think it's all right once you've got a bit of confidence and you've actually did something with your music. I think it's great. I don't have a problem with it. But what I don't really like is, you know, I'm from a small town myself, is, you know, like somebody will present their, you know, they usually play Wonderwall or whatever in a house party, and then they'll finally put their vulnerability on the line and play one of their own songs, and then at the end someone goes, play Wonderwall. And it's just like, we're good in Scotland at clipping people's wings before they get above their stations. But let's get people to fly a wee bit first before we start fucking pulling them down.
Yep. I just on that, actually, I remember Mogwai's last album, As the Love Continues, went to #1, so it was like a proper, not indie chart, proper UK #1 album. And I remember Tony Doogan talking about that and speaking to the guys, and it was almost their own reluctance at times to promote themselves and push themselves and big themselves up and garner support, because that Scottish fucking insecurity kicks into you that, oh, you can't do that, you can't be seen to be a dickhead. And that was, Tony was like, lads, if you were American people, you would be pushing this from all angles about how amazing it is to get people to get #1. But thankfully they managed to get there and did it.
I know, congratulations on that one. Shouts to Mogwai. Totally agree, says Jigsaw Tiger. That's one of my favourite from Brian Jonestown Massacre too. It fills me with a kind of weird excitement that I can't explain every time I hear it. I agree completely, Lou. I love that tune. And but let us know in the comments what you make of this one. This is I'm More English Than You Cunt.
You cunt. I can prove it. I don't even know who I am. As a citizen of nowhere upon whom war has been declared, I'm more English than you cunt. What could be more appropriate? Nobody attacking nothing to go nowhere. If you're gonna live a lie, you better live a big one. I'm more English than you cunt. I'm the consumer of illusions. I'm more English than you cunt. If you think you might know who you are one day after the call, you cunt, once nobody and nowhere has been removed. Because it means it. You what? I'm just like you. I'm more English than you cunt. waiting for the blush of tunes. You what does Brexit mean to bloom, you cunt. I can tell you anything, I'm more English than you, mate. I'm as English as they come, you cunt, as long as they come from round here, you cunt. I haven't got a fucking clue who I am, but if it was an English competition, I would win because I'm full to the brim. Waiting for the waves we rule to come crashing in, but only on you, you cunt. I'm more English than you, mate. I don't even care who I fucking am. I'm more English than a fried egg. I'm more English than bacon. I'm more English than a full English. I'm so English I don't even need to take back control because I never lost it. I'm more English than you, mate. I can hate. I can piss myself up a wall. I'm more English than you, mate. Like a flag on a cunt like that. My mate James said all his mates were dead at 50, but I'm 53. I'm more English than you, James, you dead cunt. I'm more English than that. I'm as English as they come, mate, as long as they come from round here. I'm as English as Blade. I'm nostalgic for things that haven't even happened. I'm more English than Dominic Cumberbatch, Bandersnatch, football match, a greasy snatch and the night's watch. I'm more English than you cunt. I'm frothy, man, a two-bit fruit, a core-date suit. I'm more English than what happened yesterday. I can keep content and carry it on. I'm more English than mustard, you cunt. The darks, M2 and Shawaddy. I'm more English than Boris Johnson. I've got a tweed tractor and a barber carpool, short back and snides, and I'm mainly Welsh, you cunt. What could be more English than that? You cunt.
Your call is very important.
Amazing. I'm more English than you cunt, by Helicon. And yeah. And the passports weren't even blue. They're not even blue. The blue passports. I'm going to see what they are. What colour are they? Yeah, I mean, they're what would you say? What colour would you say they actually are? It's
I've not seen one of the new ones, man. I've still got the old one.
Yeah, I so have, but it's not really blue. It's black. I would say. Hold on, I'll get a picture up here. I mean, it's like maybe one of those magic eye things. Like remember the dress that people couldn't work if it was green or it was something. But yeah,
that's one of my favourite lines in that track that Will has in his full length poem is I'm nostalgic for things that haven't even happened. And what more accurate a summation of the way that people are currently thinking on the right hand side of politics and the way that this kind of false Britishness has been perceived. But it's that is it. People are nostalgic for things that never actually even took place.
It looks black to me. Is it? I mean, I don't know. Has anyone else seen that? And also, they were made in France, which is interesting. It's wild. It is wild, and obviously, I mean, nobody that voted Brexit's taking it back because they're like saying, "Oh, it's just the EU that's ruining Brexit for them." So yeah, no one's going to. Well, actually, do you know what? I did watch a wee thing recently, and it was talking to the most Brexit town in Britain. They voted, and they're all pretty pissed off and not saying that they're not voting Tory next election.
But you can understand, people. You can understand that people who felt left behind and disillusioned by it could be taken in by what was ultimately something sold to them by snake oil salesmen for their own benefit. But I think if they'd stopped for 2 minutes and actually thought about it, they'd realise what they were voting for, man.
Yeah, if you've got the Daily Mail promoting it, it's maybe not in your best interests. A lot of people did it. Yeah, no, it's just a shame that that's happened twice now. And in America it was the Trump thing, and in Britain it's Brexit. But it's like it's just there is an appetite there for change somewhere, and people are getting pissed off at being left behind. but unfortunately they just sort of fell for a tax scam. Which is fucking annoying. And also what that's going to breed is apathy, even more, but apathy. So less likely to vote. But I mean, what have you got? It's Keir Starmer. Isn't exactly going to save the world though either, is he? It's sort of fucked. Lou frantically searches Helicon on Spotify. Yes, are you the only Helicon? I know. See, is there Helicon Glasgow? Is there another Helicon out there?
Apparently we have we've been mistaken a couple of times. I think there was some fucking mad thrash metal band for Germany was called Helicon as well, and there's been other mistakes made by people as well who spelt the name with 2 L's. It looks like Hell Icon, which is not what we're all about. So the Helicon Glasgow was it was definitely that. There was something taken early on by some band in Germany called Helicon, but actually. What I didn't know as well is that in the kind of early days of social media, when you went to get this, there's actually a range of effects pedals, quite often vocal effects pedals, called Helicon, TC Helicon effects pedals, and they had snapped up a lot of the names and all that as well. So hence why the wee Glasgow bit had to go in.
Where did the name come from? How did that happen?
It's a kind of. I'm not mad about it, but you needed a name early on, and I chose that because it actually had multiple meanings. A lot of people think it's purely in relation to the Mogwai track, New Paths to Helicon Part 1, which is, without question, one of my favourite pieces of music of all time. I adore it. It still gives me goosebumps in the back of my neck every single time I hear it. But Helicon is actually in ancient Greek mythology. It's the music of mountain and poetry. So don't get me wrong, there was nobody in our band reading ancient Greek mythology in university or anything like that, growing up in council estates around Glasgow, but I thought it was quite a nice sentiment. It's also, Helicon is also the name of a crater on the moon, so because there's a kind of space rock vibe to what we do and all that as well, I felt that worked quite well. And it's like a Helicon is also an old it's a kind of ancient old brass instrument that looks not too dissimilar to a tuba. So there's 4 or 5 different things that all kind of come back to, and it was pretty funny. Not so long ago, Twitter blew up a wee bit because someone on Countdown actually used Helicon as their word, and I was like, "What the fuck?" and pointing at the screen. But it was they were using it in reference to the ancient Greek mountain and to the old musical instrument. Not us, sadly.
Yeah, I've actually listened to a lot of Greek mythology podcasts, believe it or not, but I don't know anything. I just thought there's a guy, Philosophy Now, I think it is. He's just got a very calm voice, and there's no sudden noises, no alarms, no surprises, as Tommy York would say, and it just gets the job done and gets you to sleep. With regards to you're talking about earlier about the it's quite quite an intertwined scene in the psych world, like always. I think I've seen you playing the Manchester Psych Fest. Mm-hmm. That always looks like an amazing lineup. I've nearly went a few times myself, just how good the lineup is. So, with regards to that, is there what other bands, either from Scotland or further afield, who's killing it right now? Who should we maybe be checking out that we might not be aware of?
God, there's so many, man. When if you were to start in Scotland, there's people that I'd recommend you check out. Or a young band from Cumbernauld called the Kundalini Genie. You've got the band that we play so many, man. And there's young guys that I think it's Black Cat of you. There's the Floating Heads that I mentioned that are coming down from Aberdeen. There's very good friends of ours from Edinburgh. They've not put out a record in a wee while, but they were around for a long time. Delta Mainline, who really good friends of them and good fans of. And then if you kind of look, as we head down south, I would recommend that you check out bands like Deja Vega, who we played with in Liverpool very recently. There's a label being run by, and they actually made our video that you just watched, a friend of ours, a young guy called Jordan, and it's called Happy Days. And Jordan and Sophie are running that. If you check out that label, loads and loads of cracking new bands emerging there. We've got good friends in Manchester, bands like The Dirt, which are just kind of starting to get up and on their way. They kind of do kind of spoken word poetry with really high, heavy psychedelic sounds. And then, as I mentioned before, good friends of ours on labels like Fuzz Club, like check out the Gluts from Italy, check out Throw Down Bones from Italy as well. More really good friends of ours as well on the same label. 10,000 Russos from Portugal. There's so much, but check out Fuzz Club. Check out the of course, I almost forgot Domiciles in Scotland as well. Check out the label Last Night from Glasgow, and check out Happy Days, Daze. You won't go far wrong. Anything you find on there.
That's a lot to check out. I recognised a few of them, but I'll be rewinding this and taking notes to add to my MP3 player. I'm off Spotify. Is the new MP3 player. It comes with apps. It comes with Facebook apps and Twitter apps, but I've just deleted them. It was a tough. I was a little bit. I might need it, and I was like, that defeats the point.
Big Mike in our band still uses I think it might even be the first version iPod. He's still going about with it.
That's what I wanted. That's what I was trying to find. But I mean, I think that it was all second hand off on. I would buy one off somebody that I knew, but I'm not buying stuff. I'm not buying a second hand iPod off the internet for 300 quid or whatever.
No,
and it just doesn't work. You know what I mean? So, but I've got this new one. We'll see how it goes. And I suppose it has got. I've kept the Spotify app on it as well, just because. You know, it might be handy. I don't know, but I've got that, so I'm going to do that. So, by the way, shout outs to Jim Monaghan, who's got a gig on at the Stand tonight. I've got a couple of free tickets going for that. So, if anyone fancies a wee trip to the West End tonight, it's Josie Long, comedian, Tickle McNichol, rapper. There's some poetry. There's Becky Wallace, I think, as well. So there's going to be music, poetry, a bit of everything. At the Stand. If you call out Radio Patreon, give me a shout. I'll get you on the guest list, but hit me up soon. And then on Tuesday night, I think this is the place to be. Is there tickets left for Tuesday?
Yeah, there certainly are. Yep, loads of the tickets left. I know that, you know what Glasgow's like. Sometimes it can be a wee bit slow in pre-sale and people like to go along on the night in case they get a better offer between now and then. But I can guarantee you will not get a fucking better offer than this.
No,
go along.
Not on a Tuesday night.
No, on a Tuesday night.
The same thing happened with our gig last week. It was like, it was quite slow for about a month. Mm-hmm. And then, we ended up being wild. You know, I mean, at one point, I think we were going to be in the smaller room at Classic Grand. And then it got boosted up to the big room. I think it was a Jerry Cinnamon tribute act get swapped because we went to the smaller room.
Terry Turmeric?
No, I think it's Gary Cinnamon. I'm not sure. There's actually a few of them kicking about now.
Fuck's sake, man.
I know. It's wild. But we've got so Tuesday night is sleazys. It's the Third Sound featuring Brian Jonestown Massacre guitarist Hakon. You've got Helicon and the Floating Heads, who are doing their Glasgow debut, which I'm sure they'll be buzzing about. I remember we played our London debut, we were buzzing for that, but I think we played four gigs in 3 days, and we thought we'd made it, but I mean, we were playing to very, very, very small crowds, and we were young, and we got wasted for it as well. But nothing really changed at all. But it was still good crack. So Tuesday night, go and get your tickets for it. You can't pre-order the new album yet. You'll need to wait till February for that, but you can go to heliconglasgow.com and check out the back catalogue. You're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, and Insta.
Yep.
Spotify, all the usual places. It's been brilliant to talk to you tonight, mate. Sorry, I've been a bit blurry again. But thank you very much for joining us tonight, man. I'm a massive fan, and I'm really looking forward to the new album, especially since you seem excited about it.
I am, and anybody that knows me, I don't get excited about very much. So I appreciate it, Mark. Thank you very much, mate.
We've got one more song to play us out. Is Frequency, spelled as in freak, freaky deaky. Can you tell us a little bit about this song and this video and what it's all about?
Yeah, again, it was. This is one of the instrumentals that we had, and I mentioned the last track. We don't usually put out singles, but again, we had this little period where we were waiting between albums. We decided, okay, let's do this track. Really, really liked it was. I started messing around with, the what's called ostrich tuning in the guitar that kind of became famous through Lou Reed and Velvet Underground using it, where you tune every string in the guitar to one note. So I was messing around with kind of trying to find some new ideas, and I had every string tuned to D, and it started to create this really mad, weird, warbling drone effect. And then you started to play the strings with inside that. I came up with this hook that ran really, really well next to it. So very quickly pulled the guys together. Our new guitarist, Mike Hastings, who was in Trembling Bells, and he's played with Kaleidoscope and incredible string bands and all that. So Big Mike, this was his first recording with us. So we quickly put this together, phoned up Luigi, got into Dystopia. A good friend of ours in Glasgow, Ian Much, has done a couple of videos for us. He came along on the day with a few wee cameras. We recorded it, put the single together, put the video together, and then released it alongside a B-side, which we recorded here in my wee studio at home, called Crosby, Pills and Hash. And that's a much more kind of mellow sitar-led track that we had, another instrumental, and it was pretty funny because that got a wee bit of traction on Twitter at the time, obviously because of the kind of the irreverent title from it, that someone tagged David Crosby in it and they liked it, so that was that was us. We got a big tick on that one. So yeah, Frequency was the A side to this kind of this single, which had Frequency and Crosby, Pills and Hash. But it's I actually think we have this in a live set now often, and it's got a really cool vibe to it, man. It's very, very dark. But I love the way the guitars and the keys and the drums and everything just play off each other. It's a cool tune. Brilliant
stuff, mate. Let us know in the comments what you make of this. We're back next Sunday. We're doing the Poet of the Year Slam live from a secret studio, and we've got 20 free tickets to give away to patrons. So if you want to find out who the best poet in the universe is in a winner takes all knockout competition style WrestleMania vibe, then give me a message. Yeah, thank you, Helicon. Check them out. This is Frequency.